Hello, film fans. Welcome to the Film vs. Film podcast. My name is Martin Harries, your host. I'm a filmmaker on occasion, but mainly can't stop yapping about movies. On this podcast, every episode I pick a topic from a film that's coming out at the cinema or on streaming. I pick a favourite film from that topic and battle it out against a guest to decide which film will become the greatest film of all time. If you enjoy this podcast, please leave us a 5-star review and subscribe. Please enjoy part 1. Hello, podsters or podderoonies, if you prefer. We are back again for another episode of the Film vs. Film podcast. Thank you again for downloading and listening all the way to the end, I hope. This episode, as The Running Man is out in cinemas, we are talking another Stephen King Adaptations episode. The first one was on The Mist versus Dr. Sleep, I believe. No, it wasn't. It was The Mist versus The Shining. You don't have to really guess to find out which film won that one. And we have covered Dr. Sleep in the past, which I didn't like very much. Yeah, so we're doing another King adaptation episode. And of course, I'm not talking alone because that would be silly. I am joined by Matt from the Matt and Mark Movie Show again. Hello, sir. How are you?
Hello, Podderoonies, if you will. It is I, the reigning guest champion. Aren't I number one? Yes. I feel like I'm coming into this kind of like the bad guy wrestlers who know they've had the belt and the crowd is booing. They want to see a new champion, and I'm coming out with like a feather boa. I'm being really annoying. That's me. Hello.
Yeah, it's like the Shining twins or something just standing there.
Yes. Come pod with us. Come pod with us, Martin. Yeah.
Yeah, Matt comes into this episode 3-0, I believe. Undefeated.
That is correct.
Yeah. Feel like it could be tight though, this one. It could be under threat.
I agree. I was watching your pick and I was like, oh man, I've got my work cut out for me this week, I think.
Yeah. Hopefully you're not very good at maths. Okay. Right. Matt, this is your opportunity to tell us about your pods and where can we find you?
Yes, I am Matt, one half of the Matt and Mark Movie Show. We are a movie show much like this one, but we talk a lot of schlock and a lot of fun genre stuff, horror, 80s, 90s action movies, cult stuff. If that sounds up your street, then we are definitely a podcast you may want to check out. And I've recently rejoined TikTok. If you want to find me over there, I'm doing like little mini reviews. I have a pretty extensive physical media movie shelf. So if you want to see what's on my shelf, I always have pickups and hauls and things that I show. Check out Matt's Movie Shelf on TikTok.
Excellent. Yeah, I recently got some new pickups and didn't realize I have already had 2 different versions of William Friedkin's Sorcerer. So, so now
that's when you know you've made it, when you're accidentally buying multiple things. You're like, wait a minute. Yeah.
So I have the normal DVD, I have the 40th anniversary Blu-ray, and now I have the Criterion collection.
It is a nice set.
Okay.
It is nice as well. Yeah. It's never looked better.
So we're associating this episode with The Running Man, Edgar Wright's The Running Man. The reason why we are not associating this episode with Edgar Wright movies, you might think, because we have basically covered nearly every Edgar Wright film on the podcast. So apart from The World's End, every other episode we've got out, focusing on his work. So do check those out as well. Thoughts on The Running Man, Matt? It looks.
I am psyched. Yeah. I'm psyched. Edgar Wright needs no further praise from me. I adore him. I'm excited. The trailer got me very excited. I'm also a big fan of the original Running Man, and I toyed briefly with the idea of bringing the Arnold Running Man to the show, but I knew that is a hard movie to defend. And I was like, do I just want to hand the win to Martin like that? That doesn't seem very cool with me. So yeah, I'm very excited about it.
You never know. I might have been won over by Arnold in yellow spandex. You never know. I literally can't remember anything about that film. I know I've seen it a very, very long time ago. Yeah, that's all I remember.
Oh yeah, we watched it during the pandemic. We watched my wife and I a couple times, and we always like to quote, Here once Sub-Zero, now Plane Zero, as he hands he has the Sub-Zero guy's head. Yeah, amazing. Lots of good Arnold quotables in that one.
Yeah, I'm excited for the Running Man as well. I do like Glenn Powell. I think he's a star that's certainly on the up and up, and it very much has that kinetic action energy that he brought to Hot Fuzz from the trailer. So yeah, and Baby Driver as well is more of an action movie for him as well. So yeah, I'm excited about it. I feel like apparently it's more faithful to the book as well.
Interesting.
So yeah, that would be really interesting. We're in a real craze for Stephen King adaptations this year, especially. This is like the fourth one this year alone, which is insane. So
and he's got
finally doing an
show.
episode for this.
Yeah, there's like an It TV show. There was with The Long Walk. I looked up some crazy statistic on Stephen King. He has like over 100 adaptations, like film adaptations of his work.
Oh wow!
Like collectively, so we had no shortage of movies to choose from. Like when I tell you the back and forth, the mental gymnastics I went through to pick what I picked and why I picked it, because I could have gone with, there were just so many. Because you could also do a whole Stephen King run of movies that are not horror. You could do his legal stuff. You could do his jail stuff. That would actually be super interesting to see. I would love to see a film versus film where somebody brings Shawshank and Green Mile in a head-to-head.
Yeah, that would be really cool. I would be there for hours analyzing both, but but yeah, that would be really interesting. But yeah, what have we had? The Long Walk, The Life of Chuck. I wasn't like a massive fan of The Life of Chuck. I don't know if you've seen that one.
I haven't seen that one yet. I like Mike Flanagan a lot. It's on my list.
I really like his TV shows for sure, not so much his movies. As I said, I wasn't a big fan of Doctor Sleep, but yeah, TV wise, I'm like, yeah, I'm right there. And obviously, he's finished shooting a Carrie TV show at the moment, which is very exciting. Very excited for The Running Man. So, Matt, what is your choice then for Stephen King adaptations?
So this week, I bring to you the great, the demented, the miserable Annie Wilkes in Misery. is what I'm presenting to film versus film. Yeah.
So why did you pick this one? Were there any other picks in contention for you other than the original?
Well, there was one other pick. It was basically it was between, do I want to do horror or do I not want to do horror? And I thought, it almost seems unfair to bring Shawshank to a show like this, because it's like how it's like showing up with a nuclear warhead to a knife fight. Why would I do that? Right. But, and also too, I was like, I am not going to ask Martin to invest 4 hours in my movie. I couldn't look you straight in the eyes as a man and be like, hey, you need to watch this. But I went with I have two favorite Stephen King movies made of all time. One of them is The Green Mile and the other is Misery. And I went with Misery. This is my favorite of the Stephen King even more so than The Shining. And these are all great movies, by the way. This is not to dog any other movie. Misery is just the one that hits hardest for me, and it's the one I think I've seen the most.
Probably the same for me as well. I've probably seen Misery quite a few times as well. The most out of any other. Like The Shining, obviously, is an obvious choice, and The Mist is great as well, which we covered before. Such a bleak ending to that film, incredibly bleak.
Hell yeah!
Like I love The Shining, but I always felt the first time I saw it, it never really got under my skin. It never really scared me that much. There was no moment where I was really incredibly creeped out or winced at anything. Whereas this film, there's obviously a famous moment which we'll talk about that really oh my god, makes me wince big time. And me and my dad always tease my mum whenever it comes up. It's like, oh, it's your favorite film, Mum, coming up on TV. Oh, we're terrible people. I'm a big fan of this film as well. Yeah, Kathy Bates is incredible in this film.
Yeah, I was also reading randomly that I'm not sure if it's her first screen role, but it's her first starring role. That before this, she was primarily a stage actress. And that's why Rob Reiner cast her, because he wanted someone who had the chops to act and could act, but also that audiences weren't necessarily familiar with. because
Right.
originally they wanted Bette Midler from Hocus Pocus, and Bette Midler said no, and it's one of her greatest regrets in life. Now she says she always brings it up. She's like, I should have said yes to Misery. Yeah.
Oh well. So what happens in Misery, Matt?
Oh my god. Well, it's the meet cute story of a writer and his biggest fan. No, what happens is Paul Sheldon, who is played by the great James Caan, one of my favorite character tough guy actors. He is a best-selling author, and each time he finishes a book, and he's quite prolific, he finishes at a lodge resort in rural Colorado that is under like 10 foot of snow all the time, it seems. And it's been doing this for a number of years, and he finishes his latest novel to drive it back to New York, and he gets in a horrible accident, but he is rescued, as fate would have it, by his number one fan, Annie Wilkes. And she at first presents herself as a savior who's going to kind of help heal him. She's a nurse, so she has all the equipment at her house, all the drugs he could need. But it becomes very clear very quickly that he's never leaving. And she's going to keep him there forever and ever. And you get a bit of I wouldn't even call it a cat and mouse. It's more of a battle of wills to see what this man can survive. And can he survive long enough for old Richard Farnsworth to come and find out where he is?
Yeah.
That's Misery.
Yeah, it definitely feels like a film of like how many times can Paul Sheldon get in and out of the wheelchair without wincing horribly in pain.
God, and you feel for him too. Like, even there are things that I never considered that I think Rob Reiner geniusly mines for suspense. Like little things you would never think of, like, oh, just because this doorway is wide enough for my wheelchair, another doorway isn't. And that could be a huge hindrance to me escaping with my life. Like when he bumps into that final doorway and he's looking at the back door, it's right there, it's open. God, you feel for him. It like rips my heart out every time.
Yeah. So let's get to it then. Let's have a deep dive into this film with directing first, as we always do. So, like the opening scenes with James Caan as Paul Sheldon, with him like finishing the book, has some very like specific close-up shots of the match and the champagne glass, and he's clearly typing on a typewriter. So it feels like he's about to finish a book, as you said, Matt. And, you know, his transition is to have like his celebration rather is to have like a cigarette and a glass of champagne when he finishes. So it feels very clear that what's going on straight away, like the car crash that happens isn't particularly very special, apart from his car being very nice indeed. I believe it's a Mustang. I mean, it would be a crime to put James Caan in an ugly car, to be honest. That wouldn't be right. Also, when Kathy Bates shows up and saves him is interesting, but I'm sorry, that's not how you do CPR at all. It's very much movie version of CPR. So yeah, James Caan is very lucky in that moment. It feels like.
Yeah, 100%. There's funny something about the directing in this movie that I think, if you're not familiar with Misery, if your listeners are not familiar with this movie, it's not a showy movie. It's not a visual movie. This is a very straight ahead, almost workman-like directed movie. But where Rob Reiner shines is directing actors, getting performance, and mining thrills out of what is kind of like, look, he moves the camera. It's not like the camera is locked off all the time, or so. It's not a boring film visually. It's very unassuming, but somehow he manages to mine suspense out of the littlest things that, to me, I think if you're under the spell of the movie, it feels like he's doing a lot, which is kind of amazing. Because if you think about it, for the majority of the movie, you are sat down with two actors. That's it. And that's a hard thing to pull off, right? You are very lucky because you have two great actors going up against each other here. But just the setup. One is lame. One is in a bed. He's not moving. There's not much he can do, as Martin said, besides wince and pain. So it's hard to make him heroic, but it's easy to root for him. So it's kind of like, you know, there are some interesting things I think that Rob Reiner does directorially with the characters where he kind of, I don't think anybody is ever rooting for Annie Wilkes, but I think there are moments where you kind of feel, you pity her sometimes. And I think that's a hard, even that I feel like is a big directing achievement because we know what a monster she is.
Yeah, I think Rob Reiner definitely does get creative when he can, when he allows himself to, when there's an opportunity, especially when like Annie gets really mad and in those really crazed moments. And Rob Reiner does some real subtle things with framing. And I love the moment when Annie Wilkes like finishes the latest Misery book and she finds out Misery dies. You know, the scene starts on like Paul asleep and you hear Annie come through the door. Like the framing on her couldn't be more sinister. It's very darkly lit. The camera's at like a low angle and Annie, and she's right in the center of the frame and walks right into like a close up looking absolutely pissed. You know, I loved how precise it all is with this. Then when she goes nuts, you know, shaking the bed, her face completely fills the frame like there's nowhere to escape as a viewer. Then when she like smashes the plant pot, she becomes very kind of unpredictable for Paul, especially moving forward. Yeah, I really like that scene. Just from a subtle framing point of view.
Yeah. And I also like, too, Reiner does something interesting, I think, with editing, where, again, it's not a flashy movie. There aren't a lot of quick cuts or anything. It's not like Michael Bay where he's cutting every 10 seconds. Like, there's a great bit where he's great at showing you the fear and making you fear for James Caan, as if the scenario wasn't scary enough. Like, if, for example, when she has the lighter fluid, there's a bit where she's talking, and as she's talking, she's kind of dousing the bottom of the bed with lighter fluid. Now, we know she's doing it intentionally to intimidate him, but she's playing it like she doesn't realize. But the great part is that is actually 2 shots. It's very simple. It's the close-up on her and the lighter fluid, and it's the reaction of Paul and the going back and forth. And you're not even on her for most of what she's saying. You're on the lighter fluid and Paul's face, and it works. Like, it brings like little moments like that as where I think Rob Reiner shines in this movie.
Oh yeah, definitely. I'm not even entirely sure that she is realizing what she's doing, to be honest. I don't know. There's still a little bit of doubt there.
You never know. You can never say, like, is she, like, the whole thing. I debated like the whole thing with the wine glass, when he tries to drug her at dinner and she comes back with the candle and knocks the wine glass. Did she do it because she was paranoid, or was it a clumsy moment, like a human moment? Like, that's the great thing about Annie Wilkes. You will never know. And it's so frustrating.
Yeah, that's a good point, because she does find the knife under the bed as well afterwards. So did she? Did you see that?
Did her paranoia lead her there? Right, exactly. Yeah,
you know, and intentionally knock it over. I don't know. I feel like in that moment she's so elated and so excited that like he's finished the book and Misery is alive now. So I don't know whether her mental state is just too excited to really be kind of clever in that moment, if you know what I mean. I don't know.
Yeah. You're right. So, she could be blinded by it too, because you're right. She's euphoric. She's listening to the Liberace records. She's having dinner with Paul. He's being nice to her. Also, I love that weird touch that she's randomly obsessed with Liberace. And that I'm older, but I'm not like of Liberace's era, right? So there's a hot moment where when Paul finally leaves his room and she's out, he's the first time he's been able to sneak out. There's like a framed picture. And at first I was like, oh, is that supposed to be her husband? Because we know she had a husband and the husband left. And then it slowly dawned on me. He's like very well coiffed and it's clearly like a headshot. I was like, oh, it's a framed picture of Liberace that she has in her house, right? Kind of similar to the framed portrait she has of Paul Sheldon by all his books. I just love those weird little king touches. It's just like very weird.
Yes, the Paul Sheldon shrine. Yeah. I really like the little scene where like Annie goes off to get like the correct paper for Paul, and Paul unlocks the door and sees what he can find and discover, and he sees the phone has been dismantled and knocks over the penguin and puts the penguin back the wrong way, and it's like a really close shot. And because of what we know about Annie, that's the fact that she's super obsessed about things like that, and you feel like that could be significant later, and of course it is. And then in the next few moments when he hears Annie coming back in the car, you forget about the penguin for a moment. The editing is so well done in balancing where the characters are in terms of their geography of Annie like walking up the steps and where Paul is in the house and how much screen time each character has with the intercutting. Like there's great like POV and close-up shots put in there for both characters. Really great like edge of your seat stuff. Definitely a highlight scene for me for sure. Certainly from an editing point of view.
Oh, yeah, 100%. There are so many bits in this movie that I love, aside from the famous ones, right? I think the hobbling is like probably the most famous scene. But actually, to me, I love the scares that are a little quieter. Like you said, when she first comes into the room after he's killed Misery off in the book, she realizes it, and it's like that turn. It's so simple, but to me, that stuff is the most terrifying. Or like when she comes in, there's a bit where, to me, it's even scarier than the hobbling. I think it's in that same scene. She's able to poke him with a needle really fast, and you're like, what the fuck was in that? And then you slowly start to see him go. And she does it later too, when the sheriff, Richard Farnsworth, shows up at the property all of a sudden. There's a great bit where, again, editorially, Paul sees the sheriff's truck and he's like, "Oh my god, yes!" You could see the elation on his face. I'm gonna get out of here.
Yeah.
And the literally the next shot, the shot would be him looking at the door. She's already there on him with the needle, pricks him, and he's going out. And he tries to strangle her. There are those great little quiet moments, but the big theatrical moments. I mean, the hobbling, him fighting, their big fight, any Annie outburst. They're all just like expertly weaved, I think. In the movie. And again, it's not showy, but somehow it's almost, you know what it is? It's like super understated directing to allow the acting to be showy. And the acting is so good, it doesn't come off showy. I think that's why it's like, this is like the most low key, over the top movie I've ever seen, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
That's
like a great point. Yeah. Because you're right. It's Rob Reiner does a great job of just understating everything and in that way making things like really simple just gives you this feeling that you don't really know exactly when like Annie is going to have her next outburst.
Yes.
So yeah, there's no like real showy build up to give her a run up, if so to speak, for a big showy scene for Annie. It could come at any moment.
And Reiner uses that too, I think, both to telegraph or conceal scares, but also to fuck with the audience. There's a great moment because up to this point, we've seen that if Paul has any complaint or has anything that doesn't immediately align with what Annie wants, she will explode, right? But then there's a great bit later after she hobbles him. You think there's another outburst coming where she's like, "Hey, Paul!" She's waving from him from outside the window, and he flips her off. It's one of the biggest laughs in the movie for me, and I was like, "Oh, here she goes!" But no, it's kind of expert comedy to then like lean off on that, and she's like, "Paul, you're such a kidder." Like, what the fuck? That's great.
Yeah. The last fight scene, I think, is really good. It's not too short, not too long. Like, nice and intense and visceral with like Annie's face covered in blood and Paul like shoving burnt paper in her mouth. That was a great moment. Like the last final attack from Annie when you think she's dead does feel somewhat unexpected, but not particularly scary or shocking, I don't think. Probably because I've seen it so many times. I don't know. It's what you would expect from a fight where one character can't use his legs. So.
But he's got major upper body strength. He's been lifting the typewriter. Yeah. He's training. It's not an an unfair fight. She's also got size. We can clearly see she was able to haul Paul over her shoulder. She's like a linebacker. She's huge. She can hold her own. There's only one moment that I think rings false in the fight, and it's my only gripe about this movie because I try to be fair. I want to praise the movie, but I'm also going to tell you there are some slight things, some choices I didn't love, and one of them is it's a crucial shot in the movie, and it's the one shot I always roll my eyes at. It's when the Annie dummy hits the typewriter on the temple when she falls. There's a cut in where it's very clearly the dummy. And I think there are so many simple ways to master this gag. Sam Raimi is the king of this. Romero's done a bunch of great stuff like this, where the actor and the dummy, the cut is so seamless. You really can't tell, so you get that great head pop or that head hit, whatever. And here, that's the one moment that rings false to me, is when Annie hits her head on the typewriter. I think the shot is too long, I think is the problem. And the cut is a little awkward because it's very clearly like it goes from Kathy Bates to dummy, 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 pop, dummy.
Yeah.
And I almost wish he had cut away sooner or shortened the shot, but it's still awesome. I mean, it's still a head hit at the end of the day. You know, as a horror fan, it still looks great. It's a great physical prop, physical hit. But yeah, that is one moment that rings a little false for me. I wish Rob had backed off a little bit there.
Yeah, fair enough. I'll be honest, I never really noticed that until you pointed it out. So I'll probably...
It'll be there next time you watch it, Martin. Just watch for that scene. You're going to be like, oh, there's the dummy.
Thank you for that, Matt. Thank you.
Yep.
Sure. My favorite scene for sure is the hobbling scene, the famous hobbling scene.
Yeah.
Because of how simple it is. Like, it starts off quite, in dramatic fashion, as you said, with thunder and lightning that goes off in quite a cliched way. And then, Annie Wilkes is standing over him and injects him with something to knock him out. And the next morning, Annie explains that she knows Paul has been out of the room and the ceramic penguin was facing the wrong way. But the meat of the scene is just these two kind of simple close-up push-in shots on both Annie and Paul as Annie explains what's happening. And Paul realizes what is about to happen. There's only like one wide shot of Annie like swinging the sledgehammer connecting to Paul's ankle. I still wince massively every time in that moment, if I'm honest. And everything else is just kind of focused on their faces to make it, have this emotional intensity to it. It's really great. Then that last like push in on Annie Wilkes saying, "God, I love you," is so creepy.
So great. By the way, I read William Goldman, the screenwriter, apparently when he was adapting the story, the scene in the actual book is that Annie amputates Paul's leg. She cuts one of his legs off with an axe. And William Goldman fought to have that be in the movie. And Rob Reiner wisely said, no. I think hobbling is much worse. And also because he wanted... He knew if the audience saw a straight-up amputation, they would have a harder time relating or feeling bad for Annie at all. That crosses her over into pure villain territory. But that if she merely hobbles him, that people might still feel some sympathy for her when she goes through her clearly like her depressive moods or other moods. Like there are moments where you're kind of caught up in the madness instead of she's a tragic figure, not so much a villainous figure until the very end of the movie. So I think it's a wise choice, but it's a great scene for all the reasons that you said. And again, I think it's Kathy Bates does get the hero's share of that scene. But it's James Caan, I think, that does the work there. Yeah. Like, he sells that pain. He makes it feel like, I think up to this point, cinephiles of our age probably only really know James Caan from The Godfather and Elf, right?
Yeah, and probably.
You haven't seen the breadth of what this man can do. Mm-hmm. And I would argue that is his best acting in the movie, is that he's able to sell the pain and make it so real that just a shot of his face is telling you everything you need to know. It's like, that is good shit there, man. Good James Caan shit.
Absolutely, yeah. He's really, really going for it in that moment. Just the contrast in sort of acting and expressions between those two, like Annie's fucking loving it, whereas Paul is not.
And like we said, she's like the size of a linebacker, so she's swinging that sledgehammer with no problem. She's got moves, man.
No, there's no hesitation there at all.
No.
And what's interesting as well is like Paul is like James Caan. There's not much of a plea there to make her stop, really, because he knows that there's nothing he can do. He's just like, fuck, I just gotta let this happen.
I think all he's able to get out is her name, right? He's like, Annie, like a question, like what's about to happen? Because it's a total Gulliver's Travels. He wakes up and discovers he's been tied down to the bed, and there's that great little truck down shot to show you like, oh yes, belts and ropes and all these things are holding him in place, so then she could slot the wooden block in between his ankles.
Yeah, because even in that moment when she puts the wood block between his ankles, you're like, okay, you're still in a little bit of doubt of like what's actually going to happen.
Yes,
because it doesn't make it completely obvious that she's going to, get a giant sledgehammer out. Yeah, great stuff. Directing score for me for Misery. Yeah, I think it's really impressive. I think it very much holds up now for what a 35-year-old movie. Oh, don't say that again. Yeah, I'm gonna go like. I think you have to reward Rob Reiner's commitment to making it feel very simple and yet effective, and really just bringing some style when necessary and not really overdoing it. Because you could feel like if like a young buck director coming in to do an adaptation of this, they'll just go super crazy with the camera, and it's just not necessary. If you have, Rob Reiner knows he's got incredibly good actors here, and he's certainly using that to his advantage. So yeah, I'll go like an 8.4 for me.
Nice.
How about you, sir?
I'm going to break my rule, Martin. I usually don't do decimals on this show, if you've heard me on the show before, but I am going to side with Martin. I do have to ding him a little bit for the dummy hit. I don't want this to be a runaway thing, but I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to give him an 8.5 because I think it is a really tremendous piece of work. I think what he was able to do. And I also think sometimes just because something looks easy or seems seamless, to me, I would argue that is the sign of an artist, that they make it look easy. So the fact that he doesn't have to do a bunch of showy visual tricks, he doesn't have to rely on a bunch of gimmicks to make this story watchable and thrilling and scary and all of these bits, I think that's a tremendous achievement. I'm dinging him a half decimal for the dummy hit. That's it.
Poor dummy. Right, screenplay then. It's a really kind of intricate screenplay for me, and there's a lot of like ambiguous stuff going on, and you don't really know like where it's going to go from scene to scene. Sometimes I feel like the writing from King and the adaptation from William Goldman is really spot on and really interesting for me. And it's interesting to begin this story that they put in a little like flashback scene with Paul and Lauren Bacall's character, Paul's agent, Marisha Schindel, in her office, that Paul's basically done with writing Misery books and decides to kill off Misery in this latest book. This happens before Paul has the car crash. Then when Annie like rescues him and you start to get the sense that she's a little unhinged, you're of course worried for him. But when you learn that Annie, his number one fan, is now reading that book, you begin to become very worried for him and how she's going to react. And of course, she breaks a plant pot in spectacular fashion. So I love how like Stephen King ups the ante by adding this kind of extra element of Annie reading his book about his beloved character, knowing he's killed the character of Misery. Like a great like ticking time bomb situation here, but it's also interesting that it happened so early in the narrative, so early in the story, as you think this would be like a strong element of the narrative moving forward, but it's not. But it's certainly the point where Paul needs to get out of there, where he decides, I need to get out, which was always going to come into this type of story, but they don't waste any time with the fact that Paul, you need to get out.
It's the writing is on the wall for Paul pretty much right away.
yeah, definitely. It's also interesting when Annie decides to get Paul to write the Misery book again after she forces him to burn it, Misery's Return. At this point it's not really like a strategy for Paul that if he kind of finishes the book, she might let him go. He's very much focused on like her hairpin that he sees on the floor. But what's interesting about the scene is that when like Paul says this is not like the right paper to write on because it smudges, and he proves that to her, anyone else would be very apologetic, but not Annie. She gets really angry very quickly. that Paul doesn't appreciate and respect her, and slams the paper on his broken legs. So sort of from this point on, he really has to watch what he says as well in any moment. So yeah, it's just really interesting that, again, it kind of reinforces this thing with Annie that you really don't know what you're going to get from her from scene to scene.
Yeah. 100%. And I also think that's thematic in the script too. It does that for a lot of characters. We have really 3 characters, but it's a two-hander. But what I love is how William Goldman is a master. The guy has written some of the greatest screenplays ever. He's regarded, if you go to those screenplay seminars, those workshops, William Goldman, it's like William Goldman and Robert McKee. Those are like the guys that are at the top of those lists. Yeah. He knows what he's doing. But one thing I love about William Goldman and how he parses out information in this script particularly is you gently learn things about each character, and it's the timing when he chooses to reveal that information. Like with Annie, there's a whole thing where it's so great. By the time Paul discovers all the newspaper clippings about her and her past and how she was this head of this maternity ward, and now all of a sudden these babies wound up dying and she was on the stand, like, by the time Paul discovers that, we're way ahead of him because we already know she's done some sinister shit. She's weird in the town. And when he sees it, all it does for us is make a big confirmation to be like, hey, look, this person is every bit as evil as you thought they were. Yeah. And again, with Paul, it's kind of the opposite, because what I love about how he parses information out about Paul is that Paul kind of, like, in a way, it feels like a prison movie. He's learning how to adapt and survive every day, and he's picking his little battles. He knows, like, there are like echoes of Shawshank here, definitely in the Stephen King writing, where you're like, yep, this guy's learning the routine every day. He's going to learn how to get out. He's going to learn how to try to get over and on. He's going to train to try to get strong. He's trying to keep his mind strong. He's burying the drugs. Like, you're watching this elite New York author who's very spoiled, is in a high place of privilege. You watch him revert to his lizard brain slowly through the movie, so that by the end, it's just like raw man. Like,
yeah,
like Paul has learned how to kind of survive in the wilderness a little bit. And I love that. And then to a lesser, more humorous degree, we haven't even touched on them. There's a brilliant B plot in this movie involving the old sheriff of the town and his wife, and sometimes deputy. And I'm a sucker for that stuff. I'm a sucker for small town kind of Fargo, Coen Brothers kind of stuff. And this fits it to a T. It gives you a little bit of levity. It's really great. But again, we slowly start to see, like, okay, when you first meet that sheriff guy, he's bored in a snowy town. He does nothing, right? We know that the police don't get a lot of calls. His wife even comments on it. And because he doesn't have a lot of work to do, William Goldman plants that seed so that later he can pay it off to be like, yeah, he just wants to work on this case to fill the time so he has something to do. And because of that, he's able to uncover, he's the one lawman who's able to uncover the actual location of Paul Sheldon. It's kind of brilliant. Yeah. And all these things come to a head at the same time. That's like the best part of classic screenwriting. It's like Paul's discovering the truth about Annie. We know Annie's reaching a point of no return where she wants to kill Paul and kill herself. It's only a matter of time. Here comes the lawman, right? And they're all connected by the Misery book. And they all get the same information at the same time. That's genius screenwriting. William Goldman, I'm just going to say it, he's good. He's good.
Right. Yeah. I mean, a great line from him, from the chief, when he's in the car with his wife. When you're in this car, you're not my wife, you're my deputy.
Yeah, and he has a great bit, too, where she's like, I don't know where he is. I think he's probably off having an affair or something. And then he comes in and stands on the phone for you. He wants to know who you're having an affair with.
Yeah.
Like, there are just great little bits that are thrown in that I just think are so good.
Yeah, it's interesting. I wasn't like a much of a fan of that as you were, I don't think. But what I kind of like about those elements of the story is that I love how the film kind of commits so much story to two elements in the film that go nowhere and just kind of reinforces that Paul is alone in this fight. The first one is like Paul like stashing the painkiller capsules to drug Annie, and she ends up knocking over the glass. Whether she did that intentionally, we don't know. But James Caan's face is priceless in that moment as well. It's just like, Oh my God. This was my only shot, it feels like, for him in that moment. And the other one is, of course, as you say, the kind of sort of the detective storyline with Richard Farnsworth's Chief Buster, where they're, I feel like where they're trying to find like Paul Sheldon. For me, it's a little bit weak, but and not as compelling as I wanted it to be. Yes, I agree that there's some kind of really interesting, levity there. But I feel like Buster only starts adding up things after he hears Annie from her car shouting, "You cock-a-doodie," to some car driver. It's like, yeah, that girl's crazy. I will follow her.
Yeah. You have to
so
have that weird Stephen King Mainism in the movie somewhere, even though it's in Colorado. Somebody has to say something weird.
Yeah. But saying that, I quite like the fact that Annie blows Buster away in the back with a shotgun.
Yeah.
So
it's just a great jump scare, isn't it?
Yeah. So it's just, Annie and Paul left with no other help coming. So yeah, I love kind of the daring nature of the screenplay, the fact that you have two elements which you think will help Paul in the long run. Nope. They do not.
No, they do not. In fact, I would argue they make things worse. Also, too, you kept waiting. He goes through so much work to get that knife, and he hides it in the sling, and he's waiting, and he never gets to use it. Yeah. It's all in vain. That effort that he went through.
He even practices getting it out of his sling,
Which is a good move. It was like a quick draw move, right? It was like Taxi Driver with the gun. Yeah.
Poor guy. It's interesting when Annie gets really sad in that moment when it's raining, and she says to Paul that she's upset that he'll be able to kind of leave soon. The book's nearly finished, and his legs are nearly healed. How can she tell that? I'm not really sure, but you go with it. But what I loved was the fact that she pulls out a gun just very slowly and says, "I might put bullets in it and use it," and doesn't really say like on who. And I think she means on herself in this point in the film, because she's so in love with Paul and she knows that they will have no future together, and she probably knows that she can't keep him here in her house forever. But you can never be entirely sure about that because of how unhinged she is, that she might use the gun on him or both of them. So I love there's like a new strand of tension being created in a situation that's quite like simple and enclosed. But of course, that's, what she just decides to do in the end, to shoot both of them, shoot herself and Paul in the end. But it's just interesting that she doesn't really have like a clear plan. She's just going through moment to moment. And I feel like, Paul very much knows this as well. And as you say, he's just in sort of survival mode, just trying to learn what his kind of next move should be with the information that he has. Yes, it's really, really interesting that with the writing, the fact that you really don't know what she's going to do next. And there's no like clear end game, certainly in this moment for her.
Yeah, I think she does have. I disagree partially. I think she does have a plan. Okay. It's just a very short-sighted plan. Her plan is, I'm going to keep Paul and make him resurrect Misery. And then, or no, sorry. First it's, I'm going to keep Paul. Then she reads the book and she goes, oh, new plan. He's going to resurrect Misery. And then when he does that, it's like a person who only thinks a week ahead or lives truly in the moment. They're not thinking about tomorrow. Then when all these new problems crop up, they're caught. They're like a deer in headlights. And I think that's what it is. She has super short-term goals and a very thin plan that has not been thought out at all. Right. And because we see that she's great in the moment. She's great on her feet. When Richard Farnsworth first comes over, it takes her a second, not only to stash Paul, but she's already realizing how this looks. Like she's clearly been cooking up. Like if somebody does come, I have to explain that people have seen me in town buying paper, that there's a typewriter here, that I have this other room set up. Like she has a story for him right away. And he doesn't even ask. She offers all the information. So we see that she's great on her feet, great in the moment. And that person sometimes is often not a great long-term planner. So I think that's what it is. She's the victim of her own very short-term goals. And then she has to like hurry up and kind of like reconfigure what her next move is. And sometimes she has a moment to do that, and sometimes she doesn't.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I think it's the fact that she's very much in love with him, and
Yes.
there's like she can't see like a long-term future with this situation, you know. Yeah, so I find that kind of that aspect of it interesting, that yeah, she
Yes.
doesn't, she's, you know, eventually her only option is, you know what, fuck it, I'm gonna kill us both
Yes.
in a feat
Right.
of passion.
Right. Basically, if I can't have you, no one can. And then I just
Yeah,
don't want to live in that world anyway. So we could just go out together.
exactly. Interesting and funny lines. There is a bunch for this movie. I've got one near the start where Annie says to Paul, she's kind of explaining her injuries and what she did, and she says, "And your arm will be fine too. Your shoulder was pretty badly dislocated. It was a little stubborn, but I finally popped it back in." That was funny. I love all the moments when she kind of gets mad and like kind of the language she uses.
That stuff is great.
Yeah,
That to me feels like true Stephen King stuff. Because, like, again, most of King's stuff takes place in Maine, and it usually have those great Maine accents and the silly sort of local, right, stuff that they say. And you don't get that here because you're in Colorado. But that feels like the one touch that they kind of kept of King to make sure that she has these sort of very weird, old timey kind of safe curses that she could do, because we know she doesn't like profanity.
I thought you were good, Paul, but you're not good. You're just another lying old dirty birdie. And I don't think I want to be around you for a while. It's a great one.
That's great. That is great. I also love just her, like her lingo. She's definitely like of a time, right? Like the way that, again, my favorite unspoken moment from James Caan when he flips her off through the window. She says, "Oh, Paul, you're such a kidder." Like she has a kind of a gee whiz, like a 1950s kid kind of vernacular, which is really cool. And it totally makes sense too, from when he starts opening that portfolio of all her paper clippings. You can see the beginnings of who that person is. There's a big banner that says "Vote Nixon." I was like, of course, Nixon.
Of course, yeah. I love the little rant she has when she complains that she has to buy some more paper for him, and she says, "Well, I'll get your stupid paper, but you just better start showing me a little bit more appreciation around here, Mr. Man." I just love the way she says Mr. Man to him. She says it a few times.
It's great. It's great.
Kind of a weird one from Annie, a bit like a bit of like self-awareness that she knows she's a little cray-cray, where she's kind of critiquing that the book is not there yet, and she says it's not worthy of you. Throw it all out except for the part of naming me the gravedigger after me.
You can keep that. Yeah, you can keep that bit in. I do wonder how much Paul actually did, if he did keep that bit in the actual finished version that he burns later.
I kept this for myself.
To me, I think one of my favorite line, the thing that I was literally repeating it this morning, is at the very end when he's safe in New York. It's been 18 months. He's having lunch with his agent, and she says, "You know, I'd be drummed up out of the agency if I didn't ask you, but maybe consider doing a nonfiction book about your time with Annie." And he's like, "Do I want to relive the worst moments of my life so that you and I can make a couple bucks?" Like the way that James Caan delivers that is so good. But that is just a juicy line that is just so filled with venom. It's great.
Yeah. They just cheated us. This isn't fair. He didn't get out of the cock-a-doodie car. It's great. But I think my favorite
is great.
Yeah, I think my favorite line though is not one from Annie. It's one from James Caan, and it's when Annie puts Paul in the wheelchair for the first time, and she says, "See, isn't this nice?" And he's like, "Great, I always wanted to visit the other side of the room." So dry.
Fucking brilliant.
So, screenplay score for me. Yeah, it's really great. And I just love the little kind of all the little strands where you're really unsure of just how this is going to go with how kind of Annie is going to react to certain things, and sort of Paul's journey through it as well in trying to survive this situation, and the balls on having like two strands, two very like elongated storylines that actually go nowhere and doesn't help Paul and make things worse. So I kind of really like that. So I'm going to go like an 8.7 for me. How about you, sir?
Nice. I mean, it's William Goldman. To me, I've got to give him a 9. He's just a straight 9. I think the adaptation is wonderful. The characters are wonderfully drawn and realized. I think there are so many great key iconic moments. I'm sure in the moment you don't know that you're writing an iconic moment, but there are things there that there's a reason why this movie pops up on so many top 100 lists and top 10 lists, and we're talking about it 35 years later. I think that's a testament to the script. So I'm going to give William Goldman a 9.
Excellent. Yeah, it's got so much rewatch value for me.
Yes.
I will endlessly watch this film for sure. Not like every week or whatever, but you know what I mean. You know what I mean.
It's your birthday, you break out Misery. It's Christmas Eve, you break out Misery.
Yeah. I mean, if I break my legs, I might watch it. I don't know. But,
I wonder if they show this in hospitals. That's actually a great question. You know, there are certain movies like we can't show this in a hospital, we can't show this in an airplane. I wonder if Misery is on some of these lists. It's got to be.
Or if you're like an upcoming writer and like it's going to be tough, but also watch this film, you might have a number one fan.
Yeah.
Don't ride it in Colorado.
Yeah, really, the moral of the movie is don't visit Colorado. That's really number one. You're asking for it.
Never travel alone.
Yes, and never travel alone. Thank you.
Producer in the booth, I hear.
Yes. Paul Sheldon could have been saved a lot of trouble had he just been hit with an air tag. If he would have had an air tag around a belt loop, he would have been totally fine.
Yeah. Right, acting then. So the first time you see Kathy Bates as Annie Wilkes, you know, become a little unhinged, it's when she's like complaining about the swearing in Paul's new book, and she's ranting that she won't go swearing when she's going off to the shops or whatever, and she all the while she's like spilling the soup on the bed, and you're like, if she's gonna get upset about that, then Paul, you know, better watch out. So it's just kind of a really interesting little first moment when you see Annie kind of become a little bit unhinged. I know kind of the music helps with that as well, but it's just, you're like, it kind of, you're very much in Paul's shoes there. You're taken aback a little bit of like, oh, you're really getting pissed about that? Okay. This is going to be a long stay for Paul as you go into this film. And that's very much from the great Kathy Bates in that moment, for sure.
Yes. I mean, there's a reason she won the Oscar for this role. She is phenomenal in it. And I think it is a testament to her as an actor, but also the range she's able to show, right? I think when you think about Misery, especially if you haven't rewatched it in a while, you're thinking of the big moments. You're thinking of the outbursts, the sledgehammer. For me, the moments that really got me this rewatch were the quiet moments. That scene that you brought up earlier, Martin, where she's like, I have the blues. The rain always gives me the blues. It's genuinely terrifying to me, the lack of emotion she has. You can see that there's almost like not a person there. And she comes in and she says, I have a gun. I might put bullets in it. I don't know. Like, I was genuinely terrified. And to see that same person can kind of live in the same brain, occupy the same space of the person who is enjoying being a cruel taskmaster and hobbling Paul and swinging that sledgehammer and being like super moralist and crazy. Like, it's a dynamite performance, man. She makes her, again, and I have to agree with Rob Reiner here. I yield to Rob Reiner. Her madness is interesting because sometimes it is tragic. Sometimes you do sort of pity her. You feel bad for her a little. And then you, again, remember she does something, she accidentally, or maybe not, pours lighter fluid on the bed. And you're like, this bitch is crazy.
Yeah.
Like, you that's what I'm talking about. It's like that kind of a performance to me, as somebody who really loves like big scene chewy acting. This you're eating well with this movie and Annie Wilkes for sure.
Absolutely. I love the reaction from James Caan when the pig Misery arrives in his room and he looks absolutely disgusted. And Kathy Bates just doesn't see it at all and is completely on cloud nine by how good his latest Misery book is until she finds out that, he's killed Misery. But I love the look James Caan has as well when Kathy Bates pretends to be a pig snorting as she leaves. James Caan is just like, what just happened?
Oh yeah, that is such a great moment too, and I love the way that Reiner swings the camera down to tilt up underneath her when she snorts above the camera, kind of taking that like barnyard height. It's really good, man. Yeah, his face, he does a lot of great face acting in the movie.
Yeah.
That's a great moment. The flipping her off is a great moment. But also, again, I mean, I think the hobbling scene, that's Annie Wilkes' scene, but man, he's doing so much work and he's selling it. You believe it. It's easy to sympathize, an injured man who's being abused. Very easy to sympathize with him on paper. But to sell that pain with not a lot else in frame that's good acting, man.
Yeah, absolutely. And hopefully, well, no, it wasn't done for real, of course not. But yeah, it's I mean, it feels like it was,
It does.
That he really goes there with that reaction.
Yeah, there was a part of me that almost wished they don't show the exterior in the epilogue in New York when he's walking with the cane. I almost wish it would be a question for you, like, well, is he in a wheelchair now? Or does he have a car? He can only sort of walk a short distance, maybe a couple feet, and that's what he's got, But yeah, it's just a tremendous performance. And again, I think to do that in a bedridden role is really great because he sells that pain, but also it's James Caan. So he's believable when he's training, lifting that typewriter, right? If this was somebody else like Tom Hanks, I'd be like, you cannot lift that typewriter, Tom Hanks. Get the fuck out of here. Yeah. But you believe James Caan because he's also a tough guy. You believe when he says something like, I used to be a slum kid. I know how slum kids talk. Very few actors could sell a line like that. When he learns or when he's like trying out the bobby pin to Jimmy the door open, like there's just great little touches. And also, James Caan can do anger well. And when he finally gives you those angry James Caan moments, they feel really earned and good. So yeah, it's just excellent performance. But I also too do briefly, I know Martin's not a big fan of this, but Richard Farnsworth and his wife are so entertaining. I could honestly watch a sitcom with those two characters. They're just so good. Again, I am partial to the like small town folksy Fargo vibes that the old couple give me, but there's something about their rapport that I really like. It's just a nice, in a way,
palate cleanser kind of thing.
Yeah, but also it's a nice polar opposite, right? We have a very deranged couple in Paul and Annie, and you have a very like committed couple who are able to do the things that Paul and Annie can't. Like they can joke around with each other and have differing opinions. That's part of what gives them strength. It's kind of an interesting comparison then to see like, well, everything's fine in Annie land until you disagree with her or you do something that she doesn't like.
Yeah, I think what they both have in common is just the fact that Paul and Buster Chief are really just kind of really not in favor of the other half, like, receiving affection and love. It's just like, just very different ways. I kind of love the other side of Kathy Bates's performance as well, where she's absolutely ecstatic that Misery is back and alive. Like, she's dancing around in a circle like she's a little girl. Then when James Caan asks her if she would like to have dinner with her tonight to celebrate Misery's return, Kathy Bates has this kind of lustful kind of shock on her face. And in that moment, you're like, yep, she's definitely in love with him. If you didn't realize that before, it's very clear on her face in that moment, for sure.
Yes, and watching this with the other movie that we're covering for your show, Carrie, I got those same kind of vibes. She's not expecting to be asked to the prom. She's not expecting to be asked to dinner. And she gets asked to dinner, and it feels like, oh, I got picked. I'm the chosen one. It happened to me. And she sells that really well. The great Kathy Bates, man. A lot of flavors. She's selling them all.
Yeah, but I don't think in Carrie you get the sense that she might just jump out at Tommy and snog his face off. But
a very different movie.
Yeah.
forcing herself on James Caan and trying to like suck
You
his
feel
face.
like that could happen.
He wakes up mysteriously, his pants are always gone. Hey, where are my pants again?
Oh no. Oh God. That's in my head now, Matthew. Oh God.
You're welcome. You're all welcome.
Cool. Right. Compose yourself, Martin. Right. Favorite performance for me is, of course, Kathy Bates. Silly question. Is that the same with you? Yeah.
Same.
Excellent.
Same. It's gotta be. It's gotta be.
Yeah. Acting score for me with James Caan with his trousers on, I'm going to go like a straight 9. Straight 9. I think it's better than that, actually. I'm going to go like a 9.3. I think both, with the fact that it's very much a two-hander, they have to do so much heavy lifting. And of course, Rob Reiner puts that on them, but they do just an incredible job of carrying you through this film. You're never bored. There's no fat on the bones of this film, and they fill everything. Yeah, it's really, really great. So I'll go like a 9.3 for me. Yeah, it's really great.
Yes. I am also going to break my rule again, and I will go for a decimal to this. I will be sporting and say I will do the same thing. 9.3 for me. I think they're both standout performances. Again, this is the reason, the role that got Kathy Bates the Oscar. So, and boy, did she earn it. She earns it 100%. The movie is hers. James Caan does a great job. Richard Farnsworth does a great job. But man, this is the Kathy Bates show. She steals it. It's great.
Absolutely. Right, let's add up the scores then for Misery. Misery gets a very impressive 53.2.
Well deserved.
This is going to be very tight. People, check out part 2 to find out which movie wins. That's it for part 1. Thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed it. Check out part 2 to see who wins. But don't stop there. Get involved and tell me what your favourite films are relating to the episode. Send us a DM or comment on Instagram and TikTok at Film vs. Film Podcast, for X at FVF_podcast. Plus, we are now on YouTube, so hit that like button and comment there. If you do, I'll give you a shout out on the next episode. Remember, please leave us a 5-star review and subscribe. Pod signing off.